I take it your father returned to Tevinter, Dorian.
Let's hope so.
My father died when I was very young. I barely remember him now.
I won't say you're lucky because that's not true. But there are days.
I understand. You have my sympathy. You're not as handsome as you think, Dorian.
I must be. Or you wouldn't have been thinking about it all this time.
Anyone who claims it as often as you do must be dreadfully concerned they're not.
Look at this profile. Isn't it incredible? I picture it in marble. I must admit, Cassandra, I've never heard of these Seekers of Truth.
Why would you? They do not exist in Tevinter.
But what are they? Some manner of Super Templar? Is this one of those sudden secrets like proper hygiene?
Once we worked from the shadows, monitoring Templars and mages alike.
Ah, that clearly worked out well.
Your glibness does you no credit. The Mage Rebellion was beyond even our power to control.
Incidentally, Cassandra, I'm well aware you lied to me.
I lied to you?
When you said the Mage Rebellion was beyond the power of the Seekers to control. I've since heard your order could have prevented it, but instead led the Templars into war once it started.
It is why I left the order, yes.
Knee-jerk defense of your former comrades. I quite understand.
Your earlier judgment of the Seekers was unfair, Dorian.
Oh? Were they not responsible for keeping peace with the mages?
And what would you say if one judged Tevinter solely on the actions of some of its magisters and slavers? Yes, let us dismiss your homeland as not having a single redeeming quality. The Seekers failed, without question, but the situation was complex, and you well know it.
Cassandra, I owe you an apology.
Apologize to me? For what?
For judging your Seekers. Considering my feelings on Tevinter, I shouldn't throw stones.
That is remarkably decent of you, Dorian.
It was fun to goad you. You get this little knot between your eyebrows. See? There it is. Delightful.
Continue on this path, and we'll see if it remains such. Odd stories of Templars in the Imperium, Dorian.
All true.
I haven't even told you what I've heard.
Doesn't matter. All true. Particularly the part with the grapes and feathers.
Oh, I was leading towards that one, actually. What does Corypheus hope to accomplish? Dorian, you must know.
Let me guess, because he's Tevinter.
Well, you have better insight into the Tevinter mind than anyone else here.
Darling Cassandra, Corypheus is from a Tevinter that's been dead and gone 1,000 years. Whatever nostalgic vision he's selling, it has little to do with my Tevinter. Or his followers, frankly.
Do you truly think the Venatori have no idea what Corypheus will do?
Some of my countrymen look at the current state of our nation and despair. They hear how powerful and glorious we once were and think, that would be better. It has to be. What they overlook is that Corypheus wasn't here for our downfall. He has no idea it was unavoidable.
Could he be convinced of the truth?
You're asking me? I'll wager he believes he is the truth. My family once took me to Navarra, Cassandra.
You undoubtedly saw more of it than I ever did.
I was young, and all I wanted to do was visit a necropolis. I was desperate.
They're dark and full of undead, and the smell of stale incense still makes me want to vomit.
Ah, there goes that childhood fantasy.
If the Archdemon survived a fall into the Abyssal Rift, I wonder if it can be slain.
Proof it isn't an archdemon at all, I'd say.
What do you mean?
If Grey Wardens are good for anything, it's killing an archdemon. This one rose again. I'd say Corypheus created it. A tribute to his old gods, or an emulation of them.
Meaning what? It cannot be slain unless he is?
That? Or we need a much deeper chasm. A little bird tells me you might be up for the Sunburst throne, Cassandra.
I suppose you'd prefer to see a man in the position.
You'd certainly be a first step towards that.
That will be less amusing should it actually come to pass.
You'd be mad to consider it. Can you imagine the target it would place on you?
I don't want to think about that right now.
Is it true that the right of tranquility can be reversed, Cassandra?
It is, although I'll not ask how you heard that.
Maker's breath. If I count the tranquil into Banter alone.
I'm surprised they use the right in your homeland at all.
It's a sentence handed down by the Magisterium. Abuse of magic has so many convenient interpretations.
The reversal process is not simple and must be investigated, but yes, it will have implications here and abroad.
If you were still a Seeker, would you drag me to one of your circles?
I'm not still a Seeker.
But you'd do it, even though I'm incredibly charming.
Yes, I would absolutely drag you there, without question.
Tell me, Cassandra, did your family throw suitors at you?
My uncle did, waves of them, until I broke one's arm. Then there were fewer.
I must admit I never tried that.
It was an accident. Well, mostly an accident.
So tell me this. Are Navaran cities of the dead actually filled with undead?
Of course. The Mortalitazi lure spirits to possess every corpse buried there.
And then what? Let them wander around willy-nilly?
Only in the abandoned areas. The rest are sealed up in their tombs, I suppose.
Forever? I almost feel bad for them.
After a time, the moaning grates on the nerves. Trust me.
Still don't like me, Cassandra, after all this time?
Why does it matter? We are different in every possible way.
Not every way. There is my family.
Your family of slave-owning Imperial Magisters.
Ghastly, isn't it? Toss it all on the fire and be done with it. That's what I say.
Very well. There is that.
I knew you'd come around. Do you think they'll actually make you divine?
It seems anything is possible these days.
It's so odd. Like waiting for the Chantry Fairy to appear. Congratulations, you're the ruler.
We do not engage in pitched battle for the position as you do in Tevinter.
The successor must prove he could slaughter his enemies. He doesn't actually do it. We're not savages.
Indeed. The slaughter occurs after he becomes divine.
That's considered housekeeping. How do you want to be remembered, Cassandra? Valiant yet sexy rebel against the status quo?
I don't have any control over how I'll be remembered.
Sword raised high, blue scarf dramatically fluttering in the wind, sun rising behind you.
Blue scarf? Why would I be wearing such a thing?
It's a painting, of course. Work with me, it'll be fantastic. Cassandra, my mother has a friend who's a Pentagast. Perhaps you know of him.
The Pentagasts are a large clan, Dorian. I cannot know them all, nor would I want to.
Enormously fat man. 3 chins, 4 mansions, 5 ways to sell you out, as Mother liked to say.
Oh, I do know him. Cousin Lauren, with the wandering hands. Why are you looking at me like that, Dorian?
I'm imagining what you would look like in a dress.
Keep wondering. If my uncle couldn't put me in one, neither shall you. You're smiling a great deal these days, Dorian.
I always smile. People like my smile, and they should. I have excellent teeth.
Do you always do it while staring dreamily into the distance?
It depends how long until dinner.